never get back again. And
I'm really
that's
sorry about taking those 19 minutes from you. I apologize profusely.
yeah, those were really 19 minutes I could have used at the end of my life. I'll never get them back.
But, you got to spend them with me, so that's nice,
It's true. It's
We're gonna
true.
hang
I
out
do love you.
together.
Yeah, I do
I love
love
you
you.
too. It's great. It's great to be here with you.
Love makes the world go
Here's everybody. They've shown up,
round.
which is nice. We're
Hi,
really
all.
late, and I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, no, you got your 5 TV ad on your screen now. That's nice.
Oh, how did that
Yeah.
happen?
I don't know. It says your internet. Oh, now we're watching. We're getting a look at your most watched movies. Looks like you watched Freakier Friday last.
I don't want that. You're so funny.
Dude, you should just bring up your bank statements, put all your pin numbers on the screen now.
Yeah, I'll do it. No problem. You won't find very much on there, so anyone can have that money and all those account numbers because
But you
there's
got to
nothing
take
in
the
the
debt
account.
with it. That's what I tell everybody too. I'm going to take you for everything you're worth. I'm like, will you take the debt as well?
Yeah, they can have it. They can have everything because that's all. It's all I got is one big zero. But it's good to be with everybody. We finally made it on.
We did. Yeah, we had no fault, just solutions. Trying some new software didn't work, so we had to go back to the trusty dusty dandy Substack API or interface, as they say. And here we are today, welcoming our friends to the FiveStack, 5 of the biggest breaking news stories in the world, and we'll cover them all today. But we really only got 2 to get to, right? I mean, we'll try to arrow down and get 5 topics out of 2 bigger topics today, but Trump, Greenland, Minnesota, Michael Cohen. I mean, everything's kind of happening all at once, right? Like everything is fucking happening all at once, from the threat to put 1,500 Marines from the 11th Airborne into Minnesota to, the sending of a letter to the Norway Prime Minister saying, oh, yeah, well, you didn't give me my Nobel Prize, so I'm not feeling overly peaceful right now, and I think it's your fault that I'm going to invade Greenland. We're literally on the precipice of the 25th Amendment. Someone's got to pull the pin, and welcome to the FiveStack. That is Zev Shalev, narrative.org. I guess we start there, right? I mean,
I wish that were the case. I mean, I wish we were on the precipice. It seems that this guy has got all the authority in the world to do whatever he wants right now, and no one's stopping him. So it's not like we're actually going to have, a presence of mind of anyone saying this guy's crazy. He's not crazy. He's just being him. And him is pretty dangerous to the world because we're heading into a world war, by anyone's stretch of imagination, anyone's read of this thing. We're like the world war conversation has been ramping up to a point where it's like, it's really hard to avoid. It's just there. It's reality now. We've got in Greenland right now, forces from a variety of countries that are amassing. There's a continued, attempt by America to take over that country. There's potentially even these deployments of these divisions of the, I can't remember the exact name of it. I think it's Arctic
11th Airborne.
11th Airborne, yeah. Look, these guys are ready for war, and that's going to, Jacob Carswell will join us at around in a few minutes, and we'll talk to him about that because I think he's got a great insight into what's going on. But the world is changing around us every second. Like, I mean, this is not the same world we were in last week. Now we have a United States that is already aggressively targeting NATO, wants to end NATO, may end NATO, in fact, in reality. And you've got this brewing war. And who would have thought Greenland would have been the place where World War III might begin? But it might be the place where World War III might begin. Meanwhile, here at home, which is where we're beginning today's show, is all about what's going on with, I'm calling it Insurrection Day, because it really is the first time we've had, that I can recall in my history, the United States government willing to send in military troops into the streets of Minnesota, and they are as many as 1,500 of them ready to deploy tonight in order to quell what they're calling an insurrection. It isn't an insurrection, but it is what they're using to send in these military troops. I mean, in addition to that, they're investigating the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota, for inciting all this violence, which means these guys won't be able to run in the next election. If this is what they're trying to pull off, is some sort of, alienating and criminalizing all these people so they can't hold public office and they can't do the work that they need to do. It's really a dark day for democracy as we're seeing the military show up potentially in Minneapolis and also what's happening in Greenland.
Yeah, well said. Dark day, but that dark day is all performative because what aren't we talking about today? The Epstein files.
Right.
We're not talking about 1% of the Epstein files being released and Pam Bondi sending a letter to the Oversight Committee a few days ago saying, we're not releasing anything. No one has reported on that story. That story has not seen the fucking light of day. So, to your point, to cover up crimes against children, Donald Trump is going to war against the people of Minnesota. Donald Trump is going to try to send the 11th Airborne into Minnesota to continue to beat, harass, maim, torture, detain, and deport people who are legally in this country, some who are illegal in this country without a criminal record, who've been paying into Social Security, who've been model citizens for 20, 30, 40 years, watched an 84-year-old man get pulled out of his house in his underwear with a blanket around him in the dead of night in Minnesota yesterday. And, all of those things matter because they matter to Donald Trump and his attempt to pass off the first year of this presidency as a job well done. We've got the fucking bad guys, and we're going to go take whatever we want, and we're going to make America an expansionist imperial empire. Well, it's not going to fucking work. And let me explain why real quick. Before we bring Jacob on, and you can actually send him the invite if you like. I think he's ready and standing by. Jacob Carsbo from Denmark. He and I, along with Malcolm Nance, Ken Harbaugh, the steering committee from the Save America movement, are literally going to Greenland this week. Why are we going to Greenland? Because all of this is bullshit. Everything Donald Trump is trying to do to the people of Greenland, everything he's doing to the people in Minnesota, every threat that he tables, every letter he sends ahead of state blaming them for not giving him a fucking Nobel Peace Prize is all a distraction. It is all an illusion. These are all machinations via a severely demented old man with dementia that has a fucking axe to grind and a alternative reality to create to try to force everybody on the planet into the fucking idea that he is a change agent that history will look down on and back on and go, what a fucking great guy. That's all he cares about. The problem that Donald Trump has is that he cannot see past his own criminality. He can't see past what he wants to do to endear himself to that legacy. And no one's telling him the truth. And the truth is that he's going to start World War fucking III over Greenland. The truth is that Donald Trump has every fucking intention of not just invading Greenland as a beta test, but by doing that, blocking Canada in. So we've got Alaska on one side, an American-owned Greenland on the other, so that he, Xi, and Russia can own Arctic shipping lanes, the Northwest Passage, so they can own Greenland. And all of this at the behest of Vladimir Putin and Xi from the Chinese Communist Party. All of this to try to convince everybody he's the fucking guy. He's the ultimate deal maker. He can threaten people into giving them anything that he wants because he's got the military that he dodged the draft for behind him that years, blood, sweat, billions, trillions went into making America the world's police. And what he's doing is he's using that now to leverage some kind of change, some kind of personal gain on behalf of this cabal of multipolar assholes and dictators that are literally trying to change the new world order. And they have, and they completely have. And so what we're doing now is we're sitting here with a whole bunch of fucking Americans, Canadians, Greenlanders, Danish people, EU people, former Congressman Denver Riggleman, Malcolm Nance, Ken Harbaugh. We're getting on a fucking plane. We're getting on a plane on Wednesday and on Saturday. There's two groups going. And we're going over to shine the biggest light and lens on the people of Greenland, to stand between what Donald Trump wants to do to Greenland, what Donald Trump wants to do to Canada, and the people of Canada, Greenland, and Denmark and EU proper. Because it's our fucking duty to show up. It's our duty to show up. Mark Carney said that yesterday. It's our duty to show up for Denmark. It's our duty to show up for Greenland, and we will. We've got Canadian troops going into Greenland. We've got Danish troops by the hundreds that are already there with hundreds more. Navy from France, land, air, sea, Germany, UK, EU, 11 different EU countries in the coalition of the willing that are pouring defensive needs, military needs, people, ammunition, boats, Coast Guard icebreakers. All of it is flowing into Greenland, and we're going to be there to show it to you because this is what Donald Trump doesn't want anybody to see.
I agree with everything you're saying, except that I think that this is more than just Donald Trump, worrying about the Epstein files. I think what's going on is a fundamental shift in the world order. And I know you said that, but I think that's a real driving thing that's happening here. Is that they're busy reconfiguring the world in the way that democracies are considered just the enemy. The autocratic world of Russia, China, and America is picking a fight with all the democracies, and it intends to win that fight in order to reconstruct the world in their image. And there's a story today about the Board of Peace, which is that that ridiculous body that Donald Trump will now be chairman of for life, where they're charging $1 billion to world leaders who want to join this organization. And among the people they're adding is Vladimir Putin and Viktor Orban of Hungary. And it just tells you
Lukashenko of Belarus. Yeah.
And these are they will rule over places like Gaza, and I'm sure this will be extended to places like Venezuela and also probably the United States. And the idea there is really to create these technocratic governments. He actually used the word technocratic the other day, and I was like, he's really going down this line of taking away democracies and replacing it with these, expert-driven technocratic governments that are going to basically be colonialism. I mean, this is colonialism, only it's corporations, not countries. Although that really was colonialism at its start as well, was corporations. And it's taking away every bit of democracy and freedom that people have been fighting for and have been gaining since the Second World War. I mean, we really are reversing all the way back to an era that is, a long time ago.
And like the East India Trading Company and the Hudson's Bay Company, when they had their own police and they got to tell the government what to do. Yeah,
that's
we are
basically where we're heading. And the world seems to be going along with this right now. Now, obviously, Europe is standing up, Canada's standing up, but is that enough considering the vast forces on the other side?
Yes, it is. It's kind of interesting because this is where the Minnesota and the Greenland conversation come together. And Malcolm kind of tuned everybody in. Malcolm Nance, Black Man Spy. Everybody follow him on Twitter, Substack as well. He is awesome, and he's leading this away team that we're going to Greenland with. And we had a conversation this morning about the 11th Airborne. So Donald Trump puts out a tweet yesterday, and the tweet is, "Hey." By the way, hey, Jacob Carsbo, Danish intelligence, former UN Security Council, I'm coming to see you. But before we get there, yeah, I'm coming to your house. I am, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the threats in which Donald Trump likes to, lay out, conceptually how he thinks that different businesses need to run is the only thing Donald Trump understands. He doesn't understand politics. He doesn't even fucking understand business. He's terrible at that too. All he understands is networking and how to put himself in a position to be able to gain from that networking. So a techno state to a guy like Donald Trump is perfect for him because he gets to decide who and what businesses get to run these countries. In the case of Venezuela, whatever, oil companies don't insult him in some kind of fucking round table conversation at the White House. And it's going to happen with Greenland as well. And joining us, Jacob Carsbo, former Danish intelligence officer, also UN Security Council member. We're just talking about the rhetoric in this letter from Donald Trump to the president of Norway, the prime minister of Norway. Did you read this?
Yeah, insane.
Shocking.
Let me read this to you. And then we'll talk about what Denmark is doing with its allies right now. So Trump sent this to I don't think this was supposed to get out, by the way. But the Norwegian prime minister was like, hey, put this on fucking social media.
I mean, I think it was intended to get out. Obviously, they knew it was going to get out.
I don't think it was. From everything that I've read, they're like, we're pretty sure that was supposed to be an email. Anyway, this is the White House, Washington, D.C., 2500. That's the zip code. Dear Jonas Gahr, who's the prime minister of Norway, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars. Plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. Although will always be predominant, but now I can think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia. This is where he turns on the guy and goes from Nobel Peace Prize to like Denmark. Denmark cannot protect land from Russia or China. Why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. Only that boat landed there hundreds of years ago, and we had boats landing there also. I've done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now, Jacob, NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have total and complete control of Greenland. Thank you, President Donald J. Trump. How's that landing overseas this morning, Jacob Carsbo in Denmark?
Yeah, at first, several journalists doubted the veracity of the document. It is.
Got to spell
we have
check
to
it.
verify this. What that was the story this morning. So it was only actually when the Norwegian Prime Minister came out and really said, "Well, this is it. I received it. That's true." So that's how crazy it is. People just didn't believe it.
Yeah, it's because it's ridiculous. It's like me sending a letter to my high school saying, you know what, I am going to foreclose and buy that entire area the high school's on because you didn't name me the fucking valedictorian in 1993.
Yeah,
but that's Donald Trump. I mean, that's what he does.
This whole war business is everyone else's fault.
Yes,
it's not. Yeah, it's not Donald Trump's fault, of course.
Remember,
he's actually pushed into this whole Greenland scenario.
Well, because he didn't get a Nobel Peace Prize with his name on it, he had to steal it from the lady from Venezuela.
They should have said, "Hey, but you got the FIFA one, right?"
The FIFA award counts. Did he sue his university or something, his alma mater, for something that he didn't get the right, that was saying that he wasn't a good student or something back then?
Yeah, he sued his university for publishing his report card.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what he does. He's not going to accept responsibility for anything. But it is hilarious that he did this. Do you think he's just gaslighting Norway, gaslighting Europe, or do you think this is his honest intentions here?
Well, I mean, we have to be prepared because the capacity has been prepared by the U.S. Armed Forces. The 11th Airborne Division is prepared, and when you have capacity and you have stated intentions, well, then there is a real threat, and we can only hope to deter that threat. And that's why Denmark has sent more soldiers up there today, and there are French mountaineer forces up there, and it sounds like Canadians are going to join in, and I think there'll be more forces coming. There's been a lot of, over the weekend about how many troops, and it was only some officers that were there for a short while, etc. But I mean, these guys were there as, to appraise the whole situation and then recommend to their defense ministries what to do, or whether to participate in these exercises as they call them. And you may also know that the commanding general of Arctic Command invited the Americans to participate in these exercises, and he said, "By the way, we haven't seen any Chinese ships up here at all, and we haven't seen Russian ships either. But please feel free to come and have a look at for yourselves."
Come join us. I meant the Nobel thing, because obviously his intentions on Greenland are very, very serious, and the threat to NATO is very serious. I mean, it seems to me that even there were conversations, as far as I can tell, with Giorgia Meloni and others trying to build an alternative to NATO now with other nations that are like-minded. That's been floated out of the Political Europe this morning. It says, that they are, this is a real thing, that they're looking for a NATO alternative.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is realizing that if this goes through, NATO's over, and that's how serious it is. And I've said many times, it's blatantly obvious that Donald Trump doesn't care about the NATO treaty. So, I mean, when you don't care about the treaty and is ready to violate even Article 1, about territorial integrity and sovereignty and self-determination and international law. What? That's the crux of the matter, and that's being a democracy, and that's the requirement for every NATO member state. Now, Trump doesn't give a shit. So
but he claims he's attacking Greenland because he's trying to deter the Russian threat. And the biggest gift you could give Russia would be to disband NATO. His policy makes absolutely no sense. If he's wanting to deter Russia, you would keep NATO together. You wouldn't be attacking a NATO country.
Well, yeah.
The whole argument just falls flat on its face.
Well, yeah, and then you combine the idea that there are 3 separate treaties that give the United States unlimited access to use Greenland as a military staging site to protect the United States and its allies, and it falls flat on its face. Every fucking excuse this moron has for why he wants to take over Denmark, which is why I laughed when I saw this letter to the Prime Minister of Norway. I was like, oh, that's just like he's moved on to excuse 36, right?
Yeah. And I mean, if you look around the globe, if you look at the national security strategy from December, there's no talk of Russia being a threat.
Right.
Well, why is it suddenly a threat here? And it's just a lot of nonsense.
So bring me up to speed a little bit, Jacob, if you can. Obviously, being former Danish intel, you're very aware of what might happen, what's going on, not just the surveillance and being able to kind of go over there with several officers. I think there were a couple of dozen people, officers from different countries, different coalition of the willing countries that were there this week as well. But, Macron has said land, air, sea were there for Greenland and Denmark. Canada said the same thing. UK has said the same thing. Your best guess, what does the next week look like in terms of any kind of deployment? And what would you like to see as someone who has Denmark's sovereignty and Greenland's sovereignty in mind?
Well, I have to say with the knowledge that together, Canada and the Nordic states, France, Germany and Great Britain, and the Dutch also, we have ×4 of the U.S. capacity to actually fight in the Arctic. I mean, there's every possibility to deter Trump from doing anything. And basically, as I've said, a couple of weeks ago, we have to be ready to tell Donald Trump that your first at least 1,000 soldiers are going to come back to the U.S. in body bags. We think it's a terribly bad idea, and that's probably the chance that we have, because he said, put this thing on spin cycle, and it's just going so fast now that every hour really counts. So it's about the major states coming out with some stronger statements also than what I thought Keir Starmer did today. Yes, he did support Denmark, etc. But there's this whole longing of, to keep Donald Trump in the NATO tent, as I've heard various people say around here. And I'm afraid we can't do that. It's just something we imagine, something we hope, but the reality tells us otherwise. And it's as if civil servants, high-ranking people in the government, etc. They don't want to believe it. And when you look at it, and when you get all the nonsense aside and all the spin and nonsense, then it looks like an impossible task to keep Trump inside the tent.
It does seem impossible. I mean, Canada's in an interesting position here. Dina, maybe you can help us illuminate what's going on, because it did seem like Carney was talking to Trump about joint patrols up in the Arctic and all sorts of joint efforts. And then on the one hand, that's happening. On the other hand, there'll be enemies if the attack on Greenland is going on. Is that just playing both sides, or
no? It's an interesting dance that Mark Carney's been doing. If you notice, Mark Carney hasn't come out against Donald Trump. He has come out very, very strongly for our allies. leaving the conversation about Trump sort of on the sidelines. So a couple of things are going on. One, Canada's response is to follow up and support Danish command. That's it. That is our entire goal. We've got an obligation. Article 1 through 5 says Canada's got to fucking show up. And he made it known in no uncertain terms just before leaving Doha, after striking a trade agreement with Qatar, after striking a world-beating trade agreement with China, that in no uncertain terms is Canada going to turn on its allies. We are there with Denmark, da-da-da-da-da-da. Secondly, conversations that are happening, if indeed Donald Trump does decide that he wants to invade Greenland, is they have to resupply through Canada, through Canadian Air Force. If you look at the Davis Strait, Baffin Island, Davis Strait, Greenland, that's Patuxent, which is the northernmost military base, if I'm not mistaken, or one of them in the world. That's the U.S. military base. Yeah. Yeah. So that doesn't get resupplied if Canada shuts down airspace to United States civilian flight, military flight. That's job number one. So if indeed there is any conversation, there are conversations in the Canadian military, specifically here in Canada, to prevent the United States from using Canadian airspace to supply, to attack, to go after Greenland in any capacity, any way, shape, or form. And the interesting thing, and I go back to this all the time, you look at Greenland on a map and then you look at Alaska on a map. If Greenland falls into American hands, it gets way easier for the United States to slowly encroach on Canadian soil and slowly invade Canada, which Donald Trump's rhetoric has picked up. Senior White House official this week said, Canada's been a real fly in the fucking ointment, and they have what we need. He also named us, to Jacob's point in the national security strategy document, a vassal state that they should just be allowed to come up and get things from anytime they want and put things here, use it like a fucking a storage facility and a repository and a place that you can just go pull money out of the ground anytime you want for any one of your needs. That's what the vassal state mention was. And so make no mistake that Canada's firmly on the side with our allies. And then you combine that with the fact, Jacob, I don't know if you saw this today, is Sweden and Saab have sweetened the offer to join their SAFE program to build the Gripen. And they're offering Canada 72 Gripen fighters, 6 gold, I think they're called Globi Hawks. I think those surveillance planes. If we get busy right now and if we get rid of the F-35 deal, which again happened this morning, and we are going to move in that direction. So all signs point to Canada just doing the business that we have to do with the people we have to do it with and staying away from any rhetoric when Donald Trump, if he decides to invade, which I don't like, because to Jacob's point, and Jacob, you're right, everybody's right, you got to fucking stand up and punch this guy in the face for him to respect you. You can't just continually ignore the rhetoric and then talk positively about the people who you're going to go to war with, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think the Europeans actually are playing a little bit the same game and talking about NATO exercises, etc. I think for now that's a good idea, but they have to be ready to shoot. As a matter of fact, our army chief has gone up to Kangerlussuaq today, the main airstrip up in the middle part of the Greenlandic coast with the new and enforced troop deployments. So that also goes to show that we're taking it very seriously. And it was the same army chief that gave a statement to the Atlantic Journal last week saying, well, we're ready to shoot.
I wrote this morning about this on Substack. It seems to me that this is the second front in this war against democracy. That the first front is Ukraine, and that war is going, about as badly for Russia as you can expect. But it's still, now it's very complicated with America pulling out support of Ukraine. And this seems to be the second front. Because if this ends up being a war, then you're going to get Europe entangled, you're going to get Canada entangled. But it's also going to split Europe's focus. Now, not only will they be supporting Ukraine on the one front, in the eastern front, they're also going to be here in this western front trying to defend Greenland. That's a tall order for a continent, even though it's obviously got great militaries, lots of firepower. But it does open up a second front.
Yeah, it does. But fortunately, it's it's very different capacities that are required. I mean, up in Greenland, naval capacities, Arctic prepared combat soldiers, etc., are required. In Ukraine, it's something else. And to a large extent, you may also know that these days Ukraine actually produces about 70% of the equipment and the ammunition that they spend on a daily basis. So their defense industrial capacity has just gone up and up. So I mean, we're using more or less regular units. So it's different capacities. Of course, it's a huge problem, but at least it's not something where you could say either or really.
This also introduces the United States into the battlefield. The mask is coming off, obviously. Donald Trump is not part of the Democratic club. He's part of the Autocratic club. And that puts him in line with Russia and China. And that creates a massive world conflict with two very, very big power forces fighting against each other.
Well, and let's be serious here, gentlemen. Sorry, let's
at it.
Go ahead.
I mean, Trump's rhetoric around Greenland, is a mirror of Putin's rhetoric. I mean, it's the same reasoning, it's the same thinking, and if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably also a duck.
Yeah.
Oh God! You know what? I was just going to say that. I mean, you look at the little green men issue that they had, from 2014 until they invaded in Russia. It's the same. National security, denazification. There are like 28 different fucking excuses to invade Greenland. All of them dumber than the next. Now we're getting to the Rolodex of stupid excuses. Not only is he blaming the fucking Prime Minister of Norway for not giving him a Nobel Prize and taking his peace hat off, now he can do what's in the United States' best interest, but he also said, and I quote, "We need it for the Golden Dome, everybody. we need it for the Golden Missile Dome." That's a load of shit too, right, Jacob? From your military experience,
there have been no requests as to what he would do in Greenland regarding the missile dome. I mean, that's the crazy thing, since we're in an alliance, there are really no boundaries. And of course they could do this in Greenland if they want. So, it's more of the same.
Yeah,
but he's lying, but he's still going to do it, right? I mean, that's basically what we're saying. He's not telling us the truth about why, but he's still going to try and do it.
Yeah, which is him, right? And to Jacob's point, he's been fucking saying this for the last year. I've been doing Substack Lives with him and watching him and reading his intel briefing at Jacob Carsbo, KAARSBO. Please go and give him a follow. Hit the Chiron at the top. You'll follow all of us. Make sure you give Jacob Carsbo a follow because you need him in your life. Coming with us, obviously, to Greenland. We'll talk about that in a second. But it is the evolving rhetoric of a madman. To your point, it's exactly the same rhetoric we've seen out of Russia. And none of it is legitimate because every treaty, there are 3 treaties that go back from the First World War to like 1972. 3 of them, including one in 1952, where they traded Greenland with the United States for like a Caribbean country. I can't remember the name of it. Doesn't really matter right now. But bottom line is there are 3 fucking treaties. And then you've got the NATO treaty on top of it that's like, hey, you can't fucking do this. And nobody wants to be seen, to Jacob's point, breaking that treaty. But I would ask you, do the people of Denmark, the military in Denmark, and the EU partners, do they not consider this treaty already trampled on? Don't they consider that Donald Trump has he already not passed those treaty red lines? Or are you just waiting for like, okay, now he's really busted the treaty. Now he's really trampled on our agreements.
Yeah, I will say there's not enough limelight on it because our politicians are still in that mindset. We need to keep him inside the tent, and they believe that somehow by Mark Rutte calling him daddy and all that nonsense that it will help, but it won't. And that's the bad thing. and that's why it's still ongoing. But today, when you look at the faces of our Minister for Defense that had a meeting with Mark Rutte, and also our Minister for Foreign Affairs, when you look at their faces, you can tell it's really serious now. They should have picked this up earlier, but now I think they're realizing, and they're also discussing, as you said, Seb, that was reported in the Politico this morning, alternative arrangements. What do we do if and when the worst scenario plays out? I'm sure behind closed doors they're having talks about this.
Isn't China very important here? It seems to me that they are the ones who could break this. I mean, we know that Russia is certainly going to be on the side of the United States in this engagement, or at least appear to be, because they've made that deal with Trump. But China has not outwardly supported an invasion of Greenland. It's not gone like Putin and suggested it's a good idea. It obviously has not, is diplomatically very careful about what it does, and watches Russia take a lot of the action. But if China didn't want this to go ahead, this wouldn't happen.
No, I mean China. It's easy when you follow the propaganda inside China. They want to do away with NATO as well, and they want the US and Europe to be separate, because that makes it easier for them that if we're not united, and this division they can see play out. So I think although they didn't want US to take Greenland, they're like, well, globally, this will give us a unique opportunity.
Right.
So I think quietly they're like,
yeah, more than quietly, probably. Yeah, that's right. I think they and that gets Taiwan, right? So that gives them that factor as well. They'll probably get away with getting Taiwan if the United States can take Greenland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody does anything, and everybody gets their country, everybody gets their extra land claim, everybody gets what they want out of it. The United States gets Greenland and Venezuela, trying to encroach on all these other South American countries and Canada for their empire, and then you've got Russia to the map that you drew the other day, which made me laugh.
Yeah,
and then
it's a great map.
And then Putin gets Europe, and then Xi gets whatever's left of Asia, and that's a real fucking conversation, right? These are conversations. It's funny because Zev actually hooked me into this conversation when all of this started and Donald Trump first was elected. The first conversation out of Zev's mouth was, it's the Arctic. He wants the Arctic. And nobody was paying attention to the Arctic, to the point where we had, a maple MAGA populist version of Donald Trump who lost the election to Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, just a shit weasel, by the way. Anyway, this shit weasel, when we announced that we were going to start militarizing the Arctic, he was like, what, to take care of fucking Santa? Like, I don't think anybody understands the importance of what's going on up there. Nobody. And to your point, we're going because it's important that we go. So, what a lot of people don't know, we've talked about it a few times, Jacob, myself, Ken Harbaugh, Malcolm Nance, and our friends over at the Save America movement are literally landing in Greenland starting on Wednesday, I believe. Jacob, you and Malcolm get there. Friday, and then I get there on Sunday, and not only are we doing town halls, we're talking to the stakeholders. We're going to bring the reel back from Denmark. We're going to bring the reel back from Greenland, because the rhetoric that you see on mainstream media, where Donald Trump is able to capture the imagination of people, there are Americans who love NATO, who love democracy, who literally are thinking, oh yeah, I guess we just need it for national security, and there's nobody there, because that's what Donald Trump wants people to think, that it's just like fucking Denmark's got 2 dog sleds and there's, an Eskimo on a pier somewhere just minding Greenland until Donald Trump goes to invade it. That is not the case. There are fucking 57,000 people that live in Greenland. It has been in Danish or Norwegian hands since 982. Eric the fucking Red was sent there as penance, and he discovered this. This is 982, is thousands of years ago. And I believe it was like in the early 50s and 60s, and then a binding agreement in 1979. Norway relinquished total control to Denmark. And listen, if he thinks this is an investment, 5.4 billion Danish kroner every year go to subsidizing Greenland. This is like literally he for a guy that wants to get rid of the welfare state, fucking he's super hot to go and invade one. like really odd.
That's clever. That's really, really clever. And by the way, it's a funny thing, you know. A lot of these Greenlanders, they live in small villages along the coast that are just dotted along the coastline, like 200, 300 people. If it's a big one, it's probably 1,000. But then, you know, what would you use all that money for that Trump promises them? You know, they want to go on. They want to go and hunt seals and do whatever they've done for years. And you know,
well, he doesn't really care what they do with the money. I mean, what he wants is the resources, and he wants the Arctic shipping routes. I mean, this is, you know, this would not be happening without climate change. People have to understand that this is a new reality in the Arctic. It's now the most important trading route in the entire world. It gets you from China to North America at 30% less time, which means 30% less cost in terms of shipping your goods. For China, this is a boon. I mean, they get to make so much money out of those trading routes, and they all happen to have to cross between Greenland and Canada, between that one seaway that exists between Greenland and Canada.
Davis Strait.
Yeah, yep. America wants Greenland because they want to control the gates to trading into the Western Hemisphere and into the United States. And Canada, you know, holds the other half of that strait. You know, if Greenland is taken by the United States, so that's also very important for them to try and take Canada for the same reason. But what they get for all of that, and Greenland has the deepest shelf into the Arctic, so it has the largest claim over the entire Arctic, which means they not only get the trading routes, they also get all the minerals, the oil, whatever's under that Arctic Sea, and there's a lot of it. You know, it's a boon time for anyone who's in that mining sector. This is what they really are getting with Greenland. The money that they might spend on buying the public opinion in Greenland is irrelevant to them. What they want is the trillions and trillions of dollars of value that are available under the ground there, but also under the sea and from the trading routes that the Chinese will be using to their benefit. So that's that's what this is really about. It's not about anything else.
But again, for the Greenlanders, you know, this is not something that will make them say, "Oh, we got to go with Donald Trump and the MAGA movement," because that money for them is like, okay,
they don't give a fuck.
Right.
I mean, they don't. To Jacob's point, these are people. Literally, these are people that live in tiny shacks on the coast, dotted up and down the coast, the East Coast and the West Coast, traditionally in the southern parts of Greenland. If you've looked at a map, and I've had to look at one because we're going there this weekend, is they don't give a shit about $10,000 from the American Treasury. They don't care about $3,000. What the fuck are they going to do with it? They're busy out there trying to fix their nets, sustain themselves, and get enough food for the winter, right? Like that's we don't understand it. It's like trying to apply Western thinking or Western understanding to why Ukraine doesn't just quit. Right? Why don't you know? You don't understand it because they will never do it. It is not important to them. Their sovereignty, where they live, their way of life, their culture. Which, by the way, the Sisimiut people have been there for 4,500 years.
Yeah.
Crossed from Canada when it was ice locked.
4,500 continuous years.
Wow. Yeah, dude. Like the vast majority of the population of Greenland is indigenous to Greenland. It's not white people. Like Malcolm was talking about a Filipino guy that owned a restaurant in Nuuk, and I'm like, it's got to be the only Filipino there. He's like, yeah, dude, because they're all people that are indigenous, Inuit, to that land. And they don't give a fuck about Donald Trump's $10,000, to Jacob's point.
No.
Also, I mean, they've been around for 4,500 years. They've obviously faced invaders before and survived. It doesn't make America feel very, America can be very confident of invading that country and surviving those conditions, because they've only been around for 250 years, America. It's a very little baby country. Denmark's been around. How long has Denmark been around for? The kingdom.
Since 1,200. So about 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's a little older than the United States.
Yeah, but dude, Donald Trump yesterday said that America landed boats, and Stephen Miller said it too. Stephen Miller said, and Trump says, like, we landed boats there too. Why can't it be ours? Not 500 years ago. You weren't even fucking born yet. Like, America was 250 years away of being a reality. So it's crazy. It's craziness.
It's crazy, but they're going to do it. I mean, that's the where we're at, is they're still going to do it, which is terrifying for most people. I mean, most people can't imagine a war this close to America, and no one is interested in this war. But people at home hearing this, who might not be as excited about the geopolitical machinations, are terrified, and people in Europe must be terrified too, because this is really, this is what it looks like. It looks like a world war. What would you say to them, Jacob?
Yeah. I mean, but a strange kind of world war, because it's not, it's not someone that fight on the side of each other, really.
Yeah.
It's just Trump doing crazy things, Putin doing crazy things, and then it's all mixed up. But it's really crazy. And as I said, I hope we can deter Trump. That's our only chance, in my opinion, to save whatever's left of NATO. To the people that thinks it makes sense still. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think this is such an important stand that Europe is doing. Such an important, it's an exact opposite of what would have happened in World War II. This is a real stand against Trump, and they're showing their force, and it's really important. It could determine the fate of human history.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's odd, because Greenland is a place that has been, and the Arctic is a place that has been overlooked for years and years. Trump today said for 20 years we've been asking Denmark to, in 2005, everyone talked about the Taliban and Islamic terror in the Middle East and all that. And this is just another one of the lies. Yeah.
It sure is.
It's all lies. If it comes out of his mouth, it's a lie. Anything to do with it is a lie. Go back to Stephen Miller yesterday, who said Denmark has a tiny army. They cannot police Denmark, and so we need to do it for them. And then I watched a Danish intelligence officer go, no, I watched Rasmus Jarlof go, hey, by the way, that guy should never be around women. That's the talk of a rapist. And I was like, fuck, I love the Danish people.
That was it on MSNBC? He said it, was it?
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Jacob, it's so nice to have you on this topic. It's great to have someone of your experience and your knowledge, and this trip that you guys are planning, which I'm not coming along, and I'm bitter and twisted about it. But I want to hear what your expectations are, Jacob, from this a few days trip that you're doing into Greenland.
Yeah, I mean, we need to talk to both, people on the ground, but also decision makers. Also, hopefully, some of the people within the military unit stationed there will see they're busy, so we'll see what they have time to do. So it's to gather all this information. It's to get the word out in the U.S. and around the world about the facts, what's really going on. And also, to show our support. And I know for the Save America movement, it's important also to say that millions and millions of Americans stand with Denmark and Greenland and the democracies, because as we've discussed, this is really a battle about democracy versus autocracy or dictatorship, or as General Mark Milley said, wannabe dictators. So there are several important factors in this. We'll see who of the decision makers we can meet. I won't name names, but we'll just see. There could be surprises.
I'm sure you have contacts. I'm sure you know some people.
He knows a couple of people.
He knows a couple of people.
We can't talk about it, but we will bring you back, the opinions of the people, the stakeholders, and give people a line of sight. from America into Greenland, into Denmark, into the sovereignty and the solidarity of NATO and EU and Canada and the coalition of the willing. It's literally to go there as a human shield and tell the real story because no one seems to get it. So Jacob, really appreciate it. I'll see you on Sunday. I'm sure we'll talk before then. Yeah. Whatever you do when you get there, whatever you do not pee with the toilet standing up if we're sharing a house. You got to sit.
And but Friday afternoon or something, we are up there in Nuuk, so we can do a little live report from up there.
That'll be great.
Malcolm and I, we can sort that out for sure.
Okay, yeah, we'll do it on Friday.
We can do like Alex Bulbury and I did from the station in Kyiv, where we had a AirPod each, in each ear,
and use one camera.
We can only, exactly.
So that works.
So Malcolm and I can try and do that little trick.
You can put two AirPods. Like if you've both got AirPods, you can put both of them on the same phone. Did you know that? I found out on this.
Obviously, Alex Bulbury and I weren't that clever. So.
You're at a train station in Kyiv. I'll give you a break.
Dean's like a break bar, You need help with your Apple? Cold Dean.
Yeah, not me.
Jacob Carswell, thanks for joining us here on the FiveStack. We'll see you.
Thanks, buddy.
From Greenland.
See you soon.
Friday.
We'll talk to you soon. There you go, Jacob Carsbo. Give him a follow. Jacob, Karsbo, former Danish intelligence officer, former UN Security Council member. Now he's just a guy trying to protect his country and bringing everybody together. So we're leaving on Friday. They'll be getting there Friday. I am going on Sunday. We land in Nuuk Sunday afternoon. We'll be there for 4 or 5 days. It's really important. And our friends at Save America deserve a ton of credit. The Save America movement, Steve Schmidt, Mary, the entire group over there, Ken Harbaugh, because they're doing this out of the duty that they feel to the people of the United States to bring them the real. And to cause chaos for fascism and then turn this into policy somehow, turn this into, a campaign where people truly understand that to save America, you're going to have to go to Greenland and Denmark. You're going to have to start saving other countries that America's fascist, rapist, felon president in chief, that vile pig, is trying to do to our allies and our friends. Mm-hmm. And we show up. And that requires, a lot of different people, but a lot of people with expertise. So former Congressman Denver Riggleman will be joining us. Ken Harbaugh, former aviator, Midas Touch podcaster, the Valor Network, of course, embedded with Ukraine. Now he's going to put himself in front of America's bullets after wearing the red, white, and blue, serving his country for as long as he did. Same thing with Malcolm Nance. And I go back to that all the time. And I had a conversation with Malcolm and Ken today. Just part of a planning conversation. And there's, it's hard to imagine the pride of a career military man or woman who is now sitting here watching, their brothers and sisters get used like this. They're embarrassed. And they're showing up because they are honoring these treaties. They are honoring their solemn duty to protect America. And I am honoring my commitment to my country, Canada, as well as Jacob, his country, Denmark, to show up. Just show up. I'm not going to use Woody Allen's thing about showing up being 80% of success. Just showing up is Woody Allen, but it's true. And when Denmark and your allies know that you're there for them and they're broadcasting your truth back to the people that truly need to see it, perspectives change, worlds change, people change. So that's why we're going. And just real quick, I think everybody, the only way we need your support, because we're going to go with our friends at Save America. Now, the only support that we need is for you to subscribe, free or paid, doesn't matter, to share this content with as many people, because next week and the week after, it's just going to be all Ukraine, all Greenland, all Denmark, all democracy, all in, all of us, right here on Substack. So if you could follow all of us, hit that Chiron at the top, give Zev Shalev a follow, give me a follow, give Malcolm, Ken, Jacob a follow, and subscribe. become a paid subscriber. That gets this content to the top of the algorithm. So that's all the support that we need. Don't need anything else. If you want to upgrade, great. If you want to get in for free, great. But please subscribe. And if you become a paid subscriber, the more we have, the more of this information, the more our content when we're there can make it to the front page of everybody's purview, because that is why we're going.
It's really important because this is a battle for hearts and minds. This is not just a battle for Greenland. This is about making sure the American people and everyone around the world knows exactly what's going on. And the more sunlight we can put on that, the more attention we can put on that, which is what you guys will be doing in Greenland, the more likely it is that Donald Trump won't do this or can't do this. So this is as with everything in America, public opinion really matters. And people think of Greenland as being some faraway land, in the very distant part of the world where they don't get to see or touch or feel anything. But the reality of it is, sorry about this, I don't know why it's doing this. The reality of it is, this is so important that Americans really understand what's going on. That this is the end of democracy if Donald Trump succeeds here. This is what's at stake. We're seeing the Insurrection Act in potentially being used to allow military to deploy in Minneapolis. Well, if that's the case, it'll be a slow decline of democracy in our domestic world. This is what it looks like on the global stage as the alliances line up against democracy. This is not against Greenland. This is against Europe. This is against Canada. It's against all the European countries in the world that are and the world countries that are democrats, that are democracies, I should say. This is what this is about. This is a war against democracy, and it's been going on for many years, but it's about to get very kinetic if the attack on Greenland happens. And it's super important that the work you do is seen and heard and supported by everybody. So really encourage everyone to support Dean and Jacob and not Lev, who's not going with you, but Malcolm is going with you.
Yep.
And Ken Harborough is going with you as well. So it's really important. And Denver's a good friend too. So
Denver Riggleman, yeah, I'm excited to meet him. Apparently he's just a mensch, just a great dude.
He's a good guy. He has a whiskey factory, I think. Wherever in Virginia, he has a
whiskey factory, and he's into like data and analytics and the far right and disinformation. Yeah, well, I'm sure he will. You know what? I haven't chatted with him. He's in the group, but dude, he was one of those guys that was first out when Donald Trump became Donald Trump. The first time I remember watching Denver Riggleman going, "This is not what I fucking signed up for," and then he bowed out 2 years in, and he's gone on to have an amazing career fighting disinformation. So, and he was one of the first guys that was like, "What the fuck? You stay out of those sovereign countries." And so for him to be there as a Republican is a big fucking deal. And so we're really excited to entertain him. But to your point, great word, kinetic. This will happen. There's some people out there that think it won't, but to some extent, Donald Trump is going to try to assert the United States military authority, of which he has earned none, zero, over the state of Denmark and Greenland. And, if you talk to different people like Malcolm that understand how this shit works, that 11th Airborne that's getting ready to go into Minnesota might not be about Minnesota either, right? It might be that they're prepping the 11th Airborne to literally fly over Narsarsuaq or one of the other old military bases, take that base, and then just march into town and start arresting politicians. Marching the 40 Danish police officers that are doing a tour in Nuuk and around Greenland, hands over their heads into a jail cell before they send them back. Stephen Miller said something today too, and I thought it was fucking just as dumb as everything Stephen Miller said, that the police in Minnesota should get out of their way and surrender. Surrender was the word he used, right? That is not in the dictionary of law enforcement in the United States of America. That is not in the psyche of the Greenlandic or Danish people. We do not understand how difficult it is to live and survive there. And if you think the 35,000 long rifles that belong to 57,000 citizens in that country aren't going to be pointed at the skies pending some kind of military invasion by Donald Trump, you're fooling yourself. And that is why I'm going. I want to talk to those people. So your support can come in the form of a subscription. That's all I care about, because I want you to share the content. Subscribe to any of us, deanblundell.substack.com. It will go a long way, and I appreciate it, folks.
And that is the FiveStack today. Thanks for being here. Sorry for the late start. It had to do with a whole lot of technology.
It's my fault.
It's entirely mine, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. It's really cool technology. If you got it to work, it'll be amazing. But, It's not there yet. So thanks for being here. At narrative.org, we're going to get to the next chapter of The Greatest Heist. Really important chapter, which actually does finally figure out how Donald Trump benefited from the 2008 crash to the tune of about $500 million.
When's it out?
This should be out by Friday.
Oh, you're getting to a climax and a denouement. Is that what you're saying?
It is actually the build-up. This is the actual crime. We've been building towards the crime, but this is the greatest heist, or at least one of the greatest heists. In terms of the fact that this is the one that we could pin on both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. It took me a long time, and I'm just putting the final details to really connect the Donald Trump points to it. And I think we've done it. So I'm looking forward to getting this out on Friday, so everyone can read it. It's Greatest Heist at narrative.org. And I'll be back at 7 o'clock with a special show called Insurrection Day. We'll see you then. And nice to see you, Dean. We'll see you tomorrow.
You got it, buddy. Talk to you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.